If you're causing some trouble, the Buena Park Police Department will catch you. This is Crime Watch. A short interlude of a public service announcement, as noted by the car that's stranded in the middle of the roadway.
Always check your gas gauge before you go out and driving. This poor guy here looks like he ran out of gas. Officer Krantz came up behind him and saw him sitting there in the middle of the street like that with his flashers on. So Officer Krantz goes out and talks to the guy, and he says, "I ran out of gas. I am bone dry right now." So he made a phone call to somebody who's going to be bringing him some gasoline.
Again, as a public service announcement, always check your gas gauge and make sure you have enough gas to get to your destination. Yes. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Crime Watch. I'm Jane Cameron with Sergeant Mike Lovchick of the Buena Park Police Department. You know, we see food trucks that are in neighborhoods and such. Do they have any ability to park what is convenient for them in order to serve the public?
Well, absolutely not. They are still subject to the rules of the road. They can't park in red curbs. They can't stop in the middle of the street. They can't obstruct traffic. They still have to be able to operate within the realms of the laws that exist. Just because they have a permit from the city to vend and what have you.
Or they're occupied.
Correct, yes. Now, I mean, obviously we give a little bit of leeway here and there, but at the same time, if, like with this call here, we happen to get a call on it, that this car was parked in the red zone, we have to come out and investigate it. And, you know, most of the time we get compliance from them. They'll move out of the way or move to a better spot. So usually, a lot of times we'll get compliance out of it.
You know, sometimes it seems like the red curb is it's a weird place to have a red curb. Why are there, I mean, obviously around hydrants, but why other times?
Well, you know, I was just looking across the street here, and there is a fire hydrant there, and it extends, actually the red curb extends well beyond the 15-foot mark that it's supposed to be. That's legally required.
Right, but then there's a corner across the street
Correct.
that's also red.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, that is all determined by our city's traffic engineers as to why a curb is painted red or not painted red. Believe it or not, we've had calls of where people come outside and spray paint their own curbs red and what have you.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. It's not good. But they do quite a bit of studies on areas that that need some parking assistance or that need some parking control. You can't just call and say, "I want a red curb put in front of my house." Well, there has to be a legitimate reason for it, and they'll vet through these requests and what have you, and they'll tell people if there's a legitimate reason for it, then they'll do it. However, if there's not a legitimate reason, then it's sorry, we can't do anything about it.
Now behind us, this is a driveway and the sides are parked red, so.
Well, for this particular area here, this is private property, so I'm presuming that the owners probably painted their curbs red. They can do that. However, to be an official fire zone, you know, for enforcement purposes, it has to be properly posted. I see some signs out here, but I'm not sure if those are exactly what is required by the vehicle code, because on private property, we can only enforce red zone curbs or red zone violations if it's properly marked as described by the California Vehicle Code.
As no parking, you could be towed.
Yeah, then there's all kinds of different requirements that the law says that about how big the block letters are and what exactly the verbiage is. So it's not just like you can't come out and put red curbs on your curbs out here on a private property and then say, "Hey, that's a posted no parking zone." Well, we can't enforce that type of stuff.
Bottom line, it sounds like if it's a red zone, don't park there.
Pretty much, yeah. That would probably be my best guess. Now, this guy here, he's in a plain curb. I think he was across the street earlier when the call came out. So, but you know, looking at over there, that's probably what happened. Was he just moved over to this side of the street where he was able to legally park.
At least he moved.
Yep, at least he moved, and he was cooperative with us too at the same time, so that's good.
So there's a lot of cars in this area. Are there any neighborhoods where actually it's restricted parking?
Actually, we are in an area, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain that this area does have, it's regulated by parking permits. And obviously, the permits are for folks who live here. They have priority. You can get temporary permits, like if you're going to go visit a friend or something like that, or the residents would have temporary permits for their friends or relatives that are coming out, they can dish out to them. But obviously, as you can see through here, it's pretty condensed. We passed by, matter of fact, I think back where we were at is more condensed and more dense as far as numbers of cars. And that's the reason why that they got these their special permits to be able to park there.
It's interesting. You can see people are parking right up to the red curb.
Oh, yeah. And it's, you know, we kind of talked about this earlier as far as, you know, you try to gain compliance with the folks here that are just trying to do with the best situation that they have. Obviously, you've got a lot of cars here, a lot of people live here. There's only so much, you know, real estate that you can, that you're able to park in. But, you know, we try to use discretion. Like, for example, I don't know if Mark can take a look at this here real quick. That car, it's about a bumper's worth that's in the red zone right there. You know, that's a discretionary thing. I don't know if that's something that I would put a ticket on, because it's not really, is it a letter of the law violation? Yes. Is it a spirit of the law violation? No. What I mean by that is, if he was 100% in the red, well, I'll even say 90% in the red, that's fine. Then I'll scratch a guy a parking ticket. If he's 5%, 10% in the red, you know what? Depending on the circumstances, I might try to find the owner and say, hey, can you move your car? See what you can do about getting out of that particular red zone. But again, if it's one of those things where I come up on a car that is sitting right on top of a fire hydrant, you know, to me, that's just plain either ignorance or just laziness that they don't want to.
The fire hose will go through the windows.
I've seen pictures like that before, yes. But like I said, it's just one of those things where if you can gain compliance with folks without having to give them a ticket, that's one thing. But at the same time, the laws are out there for a reason. And like you said, we don't want people parking right in front of a fire hydrant, and then there's a fire, and like you said, the hoses go right through the windows. They don't care about that.
White Toyota Prius, 10520 Loudon. So the officer's probably inside.
I'd say no.
You know? Go ahead.
Martinez, this is Clear Valley.
who have seen somebody run a red light and you wondered, where is the police officer that can catch them? Sergeant Lovechick got one for you tonight. Pretty amazing to see somebody fly by in front of you.
You know, that one was one of those ones where one car went through and it was like, that was pretty close. Then all of a sudden you see the next car go through and it's like, a second behind that other car. So that was one you just couldn't ignore.
And that's why you should always remember when the light changes, look both ways before you enter that intersection.
Absolutely. Even on a green light, you still should be looking back and forth just to clear the intersection, make sure there's no threats coming your way from either direction.
So the driver have a good reason why they did it?
No, it was funny because you could tell that I think he knew his goose was cooked because he lives in Stanton. Stanton's that way. So I was thinking he was trying to get to the right-hand turn lane so he can go this way and maybe not, I don't catch him type of thing. Who knows? I don't know. I don't play that game, to be quite honest with you. But it was one of those things where he knew he was cooked, and he didn't provide any reason why he went through the red light. So I always ask him. I say, "Is there any reason why you didn't stop for that red light back there?" And he says,
"Is there ever a good reason?"
No, usually not. He says, "No, I got caught." So that's what happened.
So I noticed that you couldn't write a ticket on paper because he's old.
Stop that. We've gone to the new computerized system where it's all on computers. The old days of the old ticket book and what have you, those are all gone. They took my ticket book away from me a long time.
When Lovechick used to be a traffic officer.
Oh gosh, yes. So, but yeah, it's something that's I am not used to very because I don't use it very often. So, and it's one of those things where I didn't even check one out tonight, so I had to call my partner up here to bring out a machine so I could write the citation with it. But even her, Officer Cruz, the citation still took a few minutes to write when you think about it. Whereas when I did them, it was boom, 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 and get them in and get them out and go get the next guy. But it's
speaking like a true traffic officer.
Well, here's the way
on a motor.
Here's the way I look at it: is that is just it's a piece of modern technology. There's probably things in the past where when they went to the ticket books, the guy said, "I didn't have to do that before," and so it's things that makes our job supposedly easier. Obviously, it's kind of harder for me, who's in the old schools type of thing, but at the same time, it's for the better. And I'll be honest with you, most of these guys, I remember when they first came out, there was a lot of grumbling about it and what have you from everybody. But as you get used to it, as you use them, as you use whatever piece of equipment that is introduced, there's going to be a learning curve, and this is obviously one of those ones. Now, again, like I said, it's harder for me to get used to it because I don't use it that often anymore. But it still is. It's a good piece of equipment.
And it's different for the person who gets a ticket too, because it's like a strip of paper. It's not a ticket.
It's funny. I equate it to the when you go to the supermarket and they print out your coupons and stuff like that. So, but what's interesting about
I don't like these coupons.
These are bad coupons. But the interesting thing about the paper, and I don't think we have any paper here to show it to you, but it's a very durable piece of paper. The ink will not smudge or run or anything like that at all.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where if they put it in some water or something like that, or it gets wet, it's not going to tear or anything like that. So there's a silver lining on it. That's it.
So it never goes away, you're saying?
That is true. That is true.
We're now in the gym at the Buena Park Police Department, and to note, everything you see here is paid by the Police Association, so there's no city funds, which is nice. You need to stay in shape in order to do your job.
Right. This is a great perk for the police department. It's for all employees too. It's not just necessarily all sworn personnel, but all police department employees are able to utilize the gym here. And again, as you mentioned, all the equipment that you see inside the gym room here, it was all purchased through association funds, so that means we basically paid for all this stuff. So, that way we're not using taxpayer money, and but we are staying in good physical shape.
And part of the reason they need to stay in good physical shape is not because they need to run after suspects, which you do, or to jump in and out of the car, which you do, or to be on their feet for a long period of time, which you are, but it's also because of the amount of equipment that they wear, and you have to be physically fit. And we're going to show you just how much extra weight is carried just to make sure that Sergeant Lovechick is safe when he's out patrolling the streets. So why don't you get on the scale now, and we'll show people. Evidently he doesn't mind. So
I don't know if you can see it, Mark, or not. It's about 192 pounds right there, with all of my gear on. So I'm close to 200 pounds with all the gear on that I have. And I don't even wear most of the gear, or I should say I wear a lot of the gear, but not as much as some of the other guys wear out there.
okay, so we're going to have him take off all of his uniforms and heavy weight that he needs, and we'll show you afterwards how much weight he's lost.
Okay.
So as you can see, that's a lot of stuff. And yet all of that is important and more to make sure that you stay safe.
Carry a lot of gear, and it weighs a lot, but like you said, it's one of those things where these are the things that we need to keep us safe, let us do our job, and so it's things that we've just gotten used to over the years as far as being in active patrol and what have you. So it's a
All
lot of
right,
stuff.
let's see what immediate weight loss looks like.
Okay. We're gonna go down here. Let's see here. Okay. About 174. So that was, we said it was when we started? 192. So it's about, it's actually, I think we were at 196 if I remember right. But anyway, it's close to 15 pounds of gear. And as you can see, it's obviously quite a bit of stuff. But
So this is a strain on your back too.
yeah, a lot of this gear, it does give you a little bit of back pain, but again, like I said, it's one of those things where this is equipment that we carry and that we have to wear to do our job correctly.
Well, if you have any questions about tonight's show, you can always call the Buena Park Police Department at 562-3901. Check them out on Instagram. They've got some really cute pictures, but there's also Facebook and Twitter, and it's all good to watch, as well as bppd.com. So with Sergeant Mike Lovechick of the Buena Park Police Department, I'm Jane Cameron. Thanks for watching.